I mean, I was Josh Safdie's muse when he wrote Uncut Gems.
Right. Do you know
Hello,
what I
everybody,
mean?
and welcome back to Podcast The Motion Picture. This week's movie is Uncut Gems, a movie about gems that have not yet been cut. No, it's about Adam Sandler being this, what would you call him, a pawn artist, I guess, a con artist for sure, but really it's all about pawning off jewelry and gems. And he's kind of an expert when it comes to the right gems and manipulating gems and making deals, so he comes out on top. On top of all that, he's got a dangerous addiction to sports betting, which I guess I'll start off by saying, what a crazy thing to make your big giant movie about. You're making a big blockbuster movie, well, I guess blockbuster, quote unquote, but you're making a movie with stars. You even got Kevin Garnett in it, incredible. And it's about sports bets and how bad that can be. There's only one famous person I can ever think of who had a problem with sports betting. Do you know who that is?
Was that Pete Rose?
Oh, well, I guess him, but I was going to say Norm Macdonald is the guy who comes
Oh,
to mind.
oh,
Big addiction to it. Same as Adam Sandler's movie, just uncontrollable need to go bet on sports. And
No, no, I also thought Pete Rose.
yeah.
yeah, your buddy Pete Rose, personal
Yeah.
friend.
He comes
Anyway,
up a lot. He really does.
he
I
sure
don't know why.
does. He's kind
Well,
of
he's
the
got
Will Smith of baseball.
Yeah,
most at bats of any MLB player all time.
it's a good point.
hmm So
Yeah. All right.
As a pretty new Minnesota Timberwolves fan, let me just say how awesome it is that Kevin Garnett is in this movie. Because, like,
mhm.
I mean, I've seen Uncut Gems more times than I saw him play basketball. But like as I've gotten into basketball, I've like gone on YouTube and looked at like KG highlights and stuff. Man was awesome and our best player ever besides Ant. So
the big ticket himself.
yeah, very cool he's in this.
hmm
I gotta say, for a career basketball player, basketball star, hopping into a movie with Adam Sandler, guy crushes it,
I
nails
think
it.
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. There's
This
some celebrities in this movie that are good actors and some that are not.
The Weekend.
Yeah, I don't really get that weekend fella.
Well said.
It's just he's not I like that
Yeah.
he utilized Jim Carrey on that one album of his. That's actually
Yeah.
pretty freaking cool. So I guess I get that.
Yeah.
Now a lot of times we throw the expression out there, anybody can act and whatnot. Like anybody can act. Comes to Kevin Garnett, like, man, anybody can act. Holy cow. He bro hops in and he's obviously still Kevin Garnett, but like he's playing a Kevin Garnett written
Yeah.
character, which is
Yeah.
not really easy to be fed lines and then told how to be, especially when you're being yourself.
Be yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not. Yeah, it's not. I mean, I get fed lines from our producers all the time here at Podcast Motion Picture, so I've never been my real self here. I am a satire of myself. Um,
Well, it's
yeah,
such a weird thing, and I talked about it on an episode almost a year ago, and I talked about Good Time, which is also directed by the Safdie Bros. They do an insanely good job of just casting non-actors in roles and getting amazing stuff from them. Like this was Julia Fox's first movie as well, and the enforcer guy with the kind of gruff voice that ends up, he's not an actor. He's just a guy they found. So I don't, that's a really weird talent for those directors to have. And I just think it makes their movies really, really good and unique. So
Now, what's that other? We did another one of these movies not too long ago, or at least talked about one with the Safdie brothers, if you will. One of you
it,
fellas,
it wasn't Good Time
good time.
with Robert Pattinson. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, yeah, I think it must be that one. Sorry about that. Yeah, it must be that one.
Yeah.
I just for some reason I was thinking different, but that sounds right now that I'm thinking back on it. Yeah, Julia Fox was great in this. No, I didn't know it was her first time being in a movie. Like I don't know. All these characters they do a really good job of like blending into their scenes and not like I don't say it's not like they don't pop, It's not like Kevin Garnett doesn't. You don't look at Kevin Garnett in this movie and be like, hey, that's Kevin Garnett. It's obviously there, but they just fit in the scenes and the moments really well. Nobody does too much and nobody does too
Yeah.
little.
I'm imagining the directors, and they're directing the actors and stuff on the set, and they're like, okay, you're very angry and you're going to yell as loud as you can. Go. Like that's their direction. That's
Right.
pretty much everyone.
Yeah.
And that's not like a they do it really well. I'm not trying to
Yeah.
poke fun. Like they're really good at what they're doing.
Yeah. Um, is there a moment in this movie for you guys? So yeah, what this movie is about is Adam Sandler, Howie, is a bit of a sports betster, and he's good at it, but he loses, of course, because not everybody wins everything. I think from what we see for the most part, he's winning on these bets that we see in this movie, and the only reason he doesn't end up with the money on top is he kind of somebody takes the bet out from under him and rips that money away, so he actually doesn't get to place that bet, which would have made a lot of money.
Yep.
All the same, is there a moment in this movie? It's very an anxiety riddled movie. I have written down here. It's essentially it's a sports movie that fills the viewer with like this anxiety of Michael Myers showing up at your door. Like anxiety is a good word for it, where it's like when you think of sports, you don't think about this dark side of the world of sports betting, especially they get so heavy like this where somebody's making so much loss. Is there a moment in this movie where like you kind of, I don't want to say, yeah, of course, as you go along, everybody's gonna feel like that. Is there a moment where you like it clicks for you, this character of Howard, where you're like with Howard and you're suddenly strapped to his hip, you're at the hip with him as he's making all these bad moves? Like, is there a
Um,
standout part where you're suddenly like, I'm not, God dang it, now I'm on Howard's side and he keeps making bad choices.
I'm always on Howard's side. Hey, I just love Adam Sandler and this character. As far as like a specific moment goes, it's when he locks the two people in his door, and in order for this prop bet to hit, he needs the opening tip off, or else like in the first 1 second of the game, the whole thing could get fucked up. So like that's the biggest drama point for me because KG is gonna get 26, and the Celtics win that game. So I'm like, oh my god, do they win the tip off? It's like I managed to forget it every time, and then yeah, they do. But I'm very much with what's his name, Howard, throughout this whole thing. He makes incredibly poor decisions, but like you said, he usually wins. This
Yeah.
movie would have been way shorter if Arnold or whatever hadn't pulled that bet. So
Mhm.
not his fault, really.
Yeah. Cole, is there a moment for you where you're just suddenly like strapped in with him?
I actually don't like him. I think he's a
Wow.
horrible person. He's a horrible he's a great character, obviously, and it's it's the fact is that he just keeps making the worst decisions. Like he got that 100K, and if yeah, he could actually, he could have sold the Opal to KG and then had the whole thing figured out. But he just keeps going because he wants to win. He wants all that money, and it's just so I don't know. When I was watching it this time around, I was really interpreting it as just so like selfish and so stupid. And it's like, come on, man. Like he's so fake. Even like the jewelry he sells is all fake anyways. He sells like fake Rolexes and shit. So I don't know. I was along with the ride with him, obviously, and I was hooked. I'd say when there's a part where I was really kind of just with him, I guess, is when KG shows up to buy the opal from him, and when they're just like going back and forth just trying to get the door open. And it's like I was sitting there wondering, I'm like, okay, this scene's really long for some reason, and the only action right now is they have to open the door, and yet I was feeling so like
Yeah.
tense and anxious with him during that moment, and I'm like, okay, I understand like kind of what they're doing here, and just like with his character and everything, where it's like if he doesn't open this door, it's like his life will end.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was that's kind of where that scene kind of clicked for me a little bit. But I don't like Howard at all. He's like awful. He's just an awful. The only person who sees that is his wife or ex-wife. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll say I'm glad
so
you bring her up because out of this whole movie, I think I guess out of all the names I wrote down, I don't think I managed to write down the uncle's name that comes to help bid and raise the price against
Oh, that's
KG.
Judd Hirsch from Taxi.
Thank you.
Yep.
It's a crazy long name for a character in a movie, but I guess I'll go with it.
No.
Anyway, no. Out of all these characters, Cole, you say you don't like Howard. I get it. I mean, I agree with you. Howard's not a good guy by any means. He's got a horrible gambling addiction and literally just can't help it. Like he has to keep doing it. And I think for me, I get I don't want to say I'm really on his side throughout the movie, but like I feel for him through the movie. I feel very bad for him. He just seems just always down on his luck. And I mean, it really shines through towards like that turn into the third act where he starts crying to Julia Fox about how like nothing is working out for him. And I'm sure we all feel that sometimes where it's just literally like nothing is working out in our day to day. It just happens. You get overwhelmed. It happens. Anyway, but I'll say, contrary to Mr. Howard, everybody else in this movie saved the guy from Taxi Driver, and Julia Fox is kind of okay. Everybody's a giant piece of garbage. There's
Yeah.
nobody who's cool. Even Kevin Garnett in it, like he's not really. I think it's a lot of miscommunication on Damani's part, but even Kevin Garnett is like looks like a real jerk because he won't just bring the stupid stone back. Anyway,
Hmm.
that being said, the one character, yeah, who is not a jerk, is not a mean person, is the one person who kind of can just see Howard for what he is, which is just annoying, and that's the wife Dina, who I love her as a character. Not that she really has a ton to it, but just that in this whole world of characters of just each one of them is selfish and they're manipulative of themselves and just kind of live in this gross world that centers around Howard for some reason, just gravity wise. Her life certainly does not. She's stuck with him, but like has that moment where he says, "Yeah, I think I think we should get back together, Dina." And she goes, "You're annoying, Howard." It's like, yeah, good for you. So I'm glad you bring her up. That's somebody who I think is very needed in a story of just overall bad people. Now I
Well,
mentioned,
if I may expand on that, I agree with you, and I think we need her takedown of Howard in this because the Safdies are asking a lot of us to be with Howard this whole time because he is an idiot and he does do the wrong thing constantly. And I think the casting of Adam Sandler comes into play there. Like that's very intentional. One of the most likable actors ever. Like whether or not you like his movies, just one of the most like engaging actors of our time. I think that helps me in this because yeah, Howard is the worst. And when Dina finally tears into him, I'm like reminded, like, yeah, she's right. He has been doing all these things, but I don't know. I don't even know if I sympathize with him. I just like him, and I like his explanation to KG about like you win with basketball. This is how I win, and I'm always gonna root for a guy who's trying to win. So yeah.
I ooh, history is not good for you, man, if that's how you feel. Anyway, let me tell you something here. That bit of moment, that bit of moment where they're in Howard's office and KG's in there, and he gets to have this nice moment where KG's like, "You've been really mean, Howard. You've been dodging me all week." It's like this is an awesome flip that Kevin Garnett actually kind of wanted to meet with Howard and whatnot. And like Kevin Garnett's clearly not an idiot and knows something's been going up, and it's just this kind of a miscommunication of they just both want the stone. Anyway, yeah, the thing for me is I sympathize with Howard when he cries to Julia Fox. I don't often really like sympathize. I can empathize. I don't have to just sympathize with people. I think it's anyway. But for Howard to get himself worked up to this point where he's explaining to Kevin Garnett's the best, and he just wants to step on the necks of all those people that don't believe in Kevin Garnett, who say he's not going to make it through. Like for Howard to, in his own world, manage to turn this into his own betting and explain what I do is betting, to where he just realizes, like, for all you listeners, I apologize. I'm going to swear because I got to quote him because it's such a great moment. Let's fucking bet on it. Like literally, that's Babe Ruth looking at the fences. A killer moment in the movie. So yeah, I very much am a big fan of Howard at that point. For the rest of the movie, that's when I'm actually like full in on Howard and like rooting for him and like you can do it, buddy. I believe in you. Before that, I can sympathize. I can care and think Adam Sandler's awesome in the spot. But yeah, Howard's just through and through. I don't want to call him a snake. He's really just a little vole of a man. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's not alone. I got other characters I think I want to talk about here. Julia Fox. What do you guys think of Julia Fox's character in this movie? You know,
I'm a really big fan.
I can tell. I I don't know, like her motivation. I don't understand. I think part of it is because yeah, the casting of Adam Sandler in this role. Adam Sandler, he's in his 50s now. I think about it as maybe turning 50 when the movie came out, maybe late 40s. Anyway, I don't mean to insult the man's age. He's not a conventionally attractive fella, you know. I hate to say it. He's not an ugly guy by any
Right,
means.
but he pulls in every single one of his movies, so I
Well,
guess it's just believable by now.
I suppose it is. But that being said, I guess I don't understand why this late 40-year-old guy with really nothing to show for and a huge gambling problem, who is actively married with several children, 3 kids, why this young Julia Fox is like actually really wants to get it on with him. Like she's like full on like he doesn't have a bank and I don't get it, and I that's where I get very confused about Julia Fox's role in this movie. Who is she? What's her motivation? You
I
know?
don't know. For some reason, I feel like they have great chemistry, though. Like, it is objectively not believable, but within this movie, it's always been believable to me. I don't know why exactly, because she could probably do better. I do have the thought that, like, I don't think he's broke. Like, all his shit is really nice and expensive. I just think he goes through big ups and big downs. So
Yeah. Yeah, like
we've
he
caught him at a down.
yeah, we really have. We really have. We don't ever see him lose a bet on this, I don't think, unless I'm misremembering. We don't see him lose. And
Right.
on top of that, I gotta say, yeah, we really do only see him down in the slumps and low. Like he's hot shot. Everybody in town seems to
Right.
know him. So like he's
So he's been doing it somewhat successfully for a while,
mhm.
you know?
Yeah. I that being said though, I wanted to bring up she also surprises me in that not that, you know, I really get the weekend. I think I've been clear that I don't get the weekend. No, anyway, he Weekend's trying to initiate some intercourse with Miss Julia Fox, and she's very clearly in the back room on drugs, is still putting her foot down, like, no, the Weekend, like I can't do that, like we're not doing that. And so like even still behind the scenes, like without Howard watching, she's still faithful to Howard, you know?
Yeah.
No, I feel like if that scene had been a couple minutes longer and Howard didn't show up, I think she would have cheated on him. She already kind of was
She
with the
already
whole
kind of was,
thing.
but she also tells
So,
him like you knew what this was. Like
Yeah.
it's literally her job. I don't get what her job is, but like
Hmm.
she's supposed to be there, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah.
yeah. Well,
Like
Yeah.
I
it's
guess I don't know. What I'm trying to say is I don't really count it like I'm not looking at it like cheating, like Howard and her are going for 60 years married here, a perfect relationship. But it's like, you know, she's very faithful to him. Like, and
Yeah.
she's really trying to make it clear this boundary of like, no, we're not going to do that. Like, we're not doing that. We're just doing cocaine, like two peaceful individuals making bad decisions. And even still, he very much initiates it and gets it moved on. And you know, another thing as well, I mean, when it comes to like intercourse between 2 people, it can be very easy for one party who's kind of forced into the situation to just have to end up going along with it out of the awkwardness and just kind of the pressure, you know, the as Dennis Reynolds would say it, the implication, um, you know. So I feel like in a way she's kind of is pressured into it as well as she starts to kind of slip into that moment there, which is it's very gross of the Weekend's character. But anyway, maybe am I missing before that? Are there times in which they're getting it on behind the scenes? Or is it just hinted
I
at?
don't I don't I there's the moment where he's like, feel this, and she's like, oh my god, how are you that hot right now? And so like I think she's into the moment a little bit, but again, she tells Howard like that's what I do. So
Mhm.
and then she tattoos his name on her ass.
Yeah, I'm not trying. Yeah, again, not trying to say they got a healthy, clear-cut relationship, but she seems very much in the camp of Howard,
Yeah.
as per her right butt cheek, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So moving on, another character past her is who I think is my least favorite character in this movie. Who I think is actually hot dog water of a man. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Arno.
No, not Arno. Arno, I think, just gets in over his head. Damani. I think Damani's garbage.
Oh.
Yeah, what do you guys think of Damani?
He is kind of I don't know. Yeah, I don't like him either. He's actually the one part of this movie I forget. I've seen this movie like several times now, and then like it's been a couple years when the credits came on, it said Lakeith Stanfield, and I was like, oh yeah. Like it's his
Yeah.
role in the movie's weird to me. And after a couple of viewings, I still don't know. I don't even know why he's in it. Like, what does he do?
he's great. I love his performance.
Lakeith's
like,
great, always.
I'm
Yeah.
not trying to insult Lakeith Stanfield. This character of Damani that he plays is garbage. He's a jerk.
Yeah.
He's a real
Well,
jerk.
everyone's a
I
jerk
know
in
that
this
I'm not.
movie.
Yeah, obviously, I'm just saying. I think out of all the jerks, he is, in this pile of garbage and crap, he is the king pile of shit. He's just no bueno, no good.
Yeah. I guess when you're watching like in this world and stuff, like the world that they're creating in this movie is just filled with just like selfish people that are always just they're only looking out for themselves. Like
Yeah.
I mean, like Howard, like he takes KG's ring, and he just uses the ring to get more money to be able to put on the
Immediately.
bets immediately. Like
Yeah.
and he's like totally just lying to him like the entire time. He lies to everyone, and then Damani's like in his room in his office or whatever, like I quit, like I'm going for I want all my stuff, and he opens his locker and he's like,
Yeah.
there's nothing here, like where are my watches and everything. He's just yelling at him and stuff, and meanwhile like Adam Sandler thinks he has cancer and he's gonna die. He's waiting on the phone.
Yeah. That scene is crazy, actually.
Yeah. But so
Yeah.
he's just yelling, but yeah, no, he's just like everyone else. He's just selfish, but honestly, like he's just looking out for himself too, because he knows who he's dealing with I think with Howard and
Yeah.
just the world he's in, and he also serves a role. He's like, that's my job. Like I have to. You hired me to go get guys like Kevin Garnett to sell you stuff, to sell stuff, right?
Right.
That's what his job is too for Howard, and obviously, like, it's like not symbiotic at all. You know what I mean? It just they just feed off each other. I feel like
That they do. I got to say a couple things though. I mean, while Lakeith's got this job, Damani's got this job to bring people to him. He does not have this job that involves getting a piece of property into their hands to end up not having it sold. Like he brings Howard all the way out to the practice courts just to not let Howard in to go and talk to
Yeah.
him. Like it's such a jerk move. They go out to the clubs and they're supposed to talk about this because, Howard believes he's got the stone. They go there. He doesn't have the stone. I was like, why would you think I want to come just do this? So like, there's layers to that, as well as, while it's Damani's just got to be looking out for himself. Yeah, but like Howard's just looking out for himself. Julia Fox is looking out for himself. The Weeknd's looking out for himself. KG's out here looking out for himself. That's why he needs the stone. Everybody's looking out for themselves in this movie. Everybody's very selfish. So it doesn't really kind of wash away this thing. You know what is not a selfish move? What is not a selfless move? What is very a selfish thing to do is to kill Howard's fish.
Yeah.
What a jerk. Did not need to happen. Anger got the best of him, and I think that's kind of what sets him apart from all the other jerks is he gets angry. Him and old Shooty McShooty Face, the mobster guy.
Yeah. Howard literally tries to give the watch away to like the bookie guy, and the bookie's like, I have a real one. I don't want this shit. So like Howard, there's no reason for him not to just keep the watches in there other than like he's just actively screwing people over all the time. So
I think I think he sold them all off is the thing. He's got to get more money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that guy, he brings out the worst of me, Damani. No insult to Lakeith Stanfield. Now, next person here that I've got is we can talk about Mr. Arno. I think Arno's a little bit of a misleading character as he first comes in because he kind of is in charge of all those guys after Howard, and he seems to have a lot of pull. Only to like we're at the end, like some spoilers may start coming up here for those of you listening. Arno like has none of the power between those mobster guys, like.
Yeah, and like. The second those mobster dudes show up, they're not playing around. Like in the first scene, they slap Howard in the face. They're punching him in the throat, throwing him in the fountain. The whole movie is telling you, hey, these guys are not to be fucked with. They're dangerous. And yeah, Arno's like the boss maybe at first. I don't know. From the car scene where Arno's in the car with them, I just got the sense that Arno is such a weasel. And then it revealed to be part of the family, which you're like, what is this guy doing? And when Arno meets his like final end, I'm not upset about it. So.
Yeah, I don't really care for Arno for sure. He's big old weasel. But no, I see in the car scene, I kind of get this feeling that he's like is not a weasel between everybody. He seems like he's kind of in charge of all those guys. And he's the one who's
Yeah.
kind of saying, when they're going to put Howard in the trunk, he's like, yeah, get in the underwear too. Like, he's like,
Yep.
okay, he's done this before. Like, he's used to this, but clearly not. I
There's a
also,
movie I should have looked up the name for, but I've seen it. I think it's called like Talk Radio, and it's this guy that plays Arno's like the lead of the movie, and the whole thing is him just answering people calling him like you would on a radio hotline asking a question or something. And that's the whole movie was that
Sleepless in
actor.
Seattle.
Yes.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I think these are the only two movies I've ever seen this guy in. His name is Eric Bogosian, I think. Absolutely phenomenal actor, I just want to say, because these roles are not like each other. But I remember that movie really well. I saw it 3 years ago or so, and it sticks with me. So Talk Radio shout out, I think is the name.
Good pull on Eric Bogosian. I write down now I'm trying to get into the habit of having everybody's names written down here. Yeah, you nailed it, Eric Bogosian. Yeah, Talk Radio is the name of that thing. I felt like I've seen him in another one of these movies here. Um, wow, he's Succession, I think is what I know him from, if I'm looking at this right. Gil? He's Gil. I think he's season one guy, if I remember right.
Is he?
Yeah, Gil, I think is the wealthy guy who's gonna run for president.
Oh yeah.
Or
Yep.
he's kind of the guy
Yep.
against the family.
He
Anyway.
is. No, he's the guy that runs for president. That is, yeah.
If you guys want a good if you guys want a good movie in which there's a radio element and talking on the radio, heck, what's the name of that movie that I always love so much? Son of a gun, I'm losing. It's got Brendan Fraser, it's got Adam Sandler, it's got Steve Buscemi, it's got Chris Farley, it's got the Italian guy from
what
Criminal
a
Minds.
cast.
I know it's got your racist man, Michael Richards is in it.
What?
I know it's a killer cast.
Are you sure?
There's a woman in it too of some particular sorts, I do believe, and for some reason she's escaping my mind. It's
Encino Man?
not Encino Man. I almost dropped Sound of Metal, but that's not quite right. Let me God, and it's such a random old one. I've seen it twice in my life. I think I watched it in high school, like randomly at like maybe 11 at night. I was going to sleep in my basement. I was like, I'll just throw this one on because it's got actually I think this would have been in like middle school. I just threw it on because I saw Adam Sandler. I saw long hair Brendan Fraser. I was like, is that the guy from The Mummy? Why has he got long hair like that? And yeah, pretty great movie. And I watched it again a couple years ago now, like two or three. Out of this world, a good movie. It's called Airheads. It's called Airheads. 1994. Brendan Fraser, Steve Buscemi, Adam Sandler, Chris Farley, Michael McKean, Judd Nelson, Ernie Hudson. I don't know.
Isn't Judd Nelson Bender?
David Arquette. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. That's Sykes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, a lot of people in here. Maybe you guys will know this name. Alan Covert. Is that a familiar name for you people?
Yeah, I think he's the guy that's in all of Adam Sandler's movies.
Yeah, he's in
I think
it.
they're friends.
Anyway, yeah, I think we'll ought to do that movie at some point here where we want to check time to do it.
I didn't have that one in my book.
It's funny. Anyway, yeah. Back to it. Eric Bogosian in this, yeah. The man, the myth, the legend, Eric Bogosian, if you will. No, I think he's a great big jerk. And I don't want to say he gets what's coming to him, but I actually gotta say I really did not expect him to have the ending of this movie that he got,
I try to think back to the first time I saw it. I think it was definitely shocking to me. But now I feel like the movie's kind of telling you a little bit the whole time. Or maybe that's just because I've seen it.
Yeah. For him to get caught up in that little heated entryway, the little breezeway, the security spot in which they come into Howard's pawn shop, jewelry store, if you will. For him to be stuck in there and just not really getting the vibe of the other two guys he's with, where they come out hot and heavy, like I feel like he should have picked up on, hey, this guy's really mad, I feel like
I think maybe his thought is, oh, we're gonna get more money from Howard now.
That's what I thought. I was like, all's well that ends well, right, fellas?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. I also think I'm gonna have to say the spoiler here. I think it's been hinted at. The moment in which the mobster shoots Howard in that head and kills him. What a dumb moment for that guy. You kidding me? You've got no assurance of the ticket whatsoever. Like you have nothing.
Where does the money end up? Does it end up with Julia Fox? Is
It
that who's
Hmm.
does.
gonna get it?
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. I'm curious what she ends up doing
Yeah,
with the money.
for real.
No, I was very scared actually because we get these kind of cuts where people are dying if I remember right in the spot. At least Howard dies there and Arno dies. But is there another side character who doesn't end well in this?
I don't
No.
think
No.
so.
Anyway, I think
I
I think
don't.
because I was hyping it up in my stock because we cut back to Vegas and that one random old 60-year-old love-making man himself with the big
Yeah,
aviators is walking
that's
away.
literally gonna be you. That was my thought.
He's walking away with all the money, and I was like, "Oh my God, he was in on it the whole time and killed her. Like he
Right,
was a bad guy."
right. And he's such a distinct looking dude that I remember when he walks out with the money, I'm like, did that guy end up with it? Like, I
Yeah,
remember being scared of that.
I
So,
thought so too. So then when the door opens and it's Julie Fox, I was like, "Okay, at least like something good comes of this, and it's
yes,
not going to the bad
yes.
guys." Um, yeah, no, it was a dumb moment for that fella there. Yeah, I think that guy's name is Phil in this movie. Keith William Richards, I think is his name. And we covered Mr. Damani himself, so that's kind of a good breakdown, I think, of all the characters. But in terms of scenes, do you guys have like a scene throughout all this? I know we talked about it that like is the make or break of this movie for you. You know, of course, the third act is a big takeaway for it all, but like through everything, is there a scene, a moment that's just like has you? Like I think I said earlier, my moment is where Howard just talks up the game about, what it means to excel, into which he is like, let's bet on it. Like, yeah, he gets it. He's gonna do it. We get to watch him do it for real.
Right. I think a couple scenes we've talked about already is him breaking down crying with Julia Fox is a standout, and then the scene where the door gets stuck and everyone's just shouting over each other.
Mhm.
Um, we could talk about the opening scene of this movie a little bit because it's very distinct. It looks like it
Hmm.
probably cost money to go film over there for a second. It looks real to me. I don't know, but that and then the transition of the opal like through Howard's colon
Rectum, yeah.
rectum. I don't know. The opening scene, I really like it. But again, kind of like the name of Lakeith Stanfield, I forget it's coming every time I go to watch this movie.
That's
I
funny.
it surprises me a little bit every time.
Hmm.
Yeah, kudos to you guys. I never out of all the years of you guys talking about this movie, never did you ever spoil anything. So thank you. Big
Yeah.
kudos. But I gotta say, when we start off in what is it, Ethiopia or was it in
Yeah.
Africa? I don't know where it was. Anyway, Ethiopia. I was gonna say somewhere in South Africa. Ethiopia. Not a clue that was coming. I was like, oh my God, what is Uncut Gems? Like, I really don't know what this movie's gonna be. But anyway, Cole, you look like you had a grand old thought there to toss into the ringer.
It was just that scene obviously sets a lot of tone for the movie because again, you just get these guys just loud and just screaming and there's violence and stuff and there's people yelling and like what are they yelling about? Oh, there's this guy he's bleeding to death and or whatever. And then obviously finding like this gem, this opal and like this wonder or whatever. It kind of reminds me, remember the beginning of Jurassic Park?
Yes, that's a good
Yeah.
call.
Yeah.
She
Like
Shoot up!
I don't know. That's kind of weird. Yeah. But anyways, like and then the transition, I think, but they deliberately that and then it comes back to the end where it's like this kind of like metaphysical beyond kind of
Yeah.
representation of like this opal. Obviously, like the transition into his colon is kind of funny because it's a unique way to introduce our main character is by like coming out of his ass, but
Yeah.
whatever. So it's like I don't know. It just obviously puts us into his world really quickly and kind of in a humorous way. And but the music is what stood out to me the most in that beginning. There's like a chant or something in the back. I don't know. It was just weird. It's just a spew of thoughts, but does set the tone and it makes it feel like a really thoughtful movie. And I feel like a lot of people get caught up in like, the action and like the drama and all that, but clearly like they know what they're doing is what I want to really emphasize here.
Hmm. Yeah, I think no, there's so much just riding on this movie between all those moments that there is more to it for Howard, who's got this thought of, do I have colon cancer potentially? Um, for that, I think you dropped earlier that nuts scene where Lakeith Stanfield's yelling at him, and he gets the call. He's trying to talk to the doctor, and it's a very as well. I think it's the only other moment. I think I mentioned the Julia Fox sympathetic moment, the crying, but like that as well, him dealing with that bit of thoughts. Um, I think that world in which there's I don't know, potential more out there in this gym is kind of a special thing. When Kevin Garnett picks it up and you get those flashes of him like playing basketball and whatnot, growing up, I think is a
Yeah.
couple of, ooh, I was like, wow, I was like, this movie's gonna be about this gym just like making people go nuts or something. And in a way, I guess it does, but just in particular, like that we get to, as an audience, instead of just have this visual where Kevin Garnett's holding this thing and he's like, oh, this is special. Instead, we actually see little effects and we kind of get to have this little flash like we're in his head. What a great choice by the movie makers of this movie.
It reminds me a little bit of the Pulp Fiction briefcase too. Like the mystical thing in a world that otherwise isn't really mystical. I think that's a cool little writing technique to have. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good deal. Do you guys have between all the different characters here, anybody I guess I think I'm gonna make a rule as I'm probably gonna be asking this question a lot on here is character, like is there an actor who just goes above and beyond in their performance? And I think I'm gonna have to just make a principal point of stripping away the lead because we can all easily attach to Adam Sandler becoming Howard for 2 hours of this movie. Is there somebody in this movie that just like makes you go for that character, not in like a good or negative way, but just as like, yeah, that's a very solid, stellar, not take away anything, not give too much, just perfect. You don't even notice that they're acting. It's just a role of their own.
yeah, I'd like to talk about the lead, Adam Sandler.
Son of a
Yeah, I was just
gun.
gonna say
This guy here. Oh my
Um,
gosh.
no, I mean, I guess I can answer your question.
Thanks, buddy.
I think scratchy voice mobster guy does a really good job of being scary as hell in this movie. And I think it's part of the reason why when he just bursts out of the door and starts shooting, I think that's justified with what we know of that man. So I like him a lot, and I really do like Julia Fox in this movie. I don't think she's stretching. I think she's probably playing a character similar to herself in real life, but it comes off well on screen. So reminds me she could have been friends with Honora, maybe,
yeah,
Cole?
they do a great job of getting great performances out of characters or out of these actors in this movie. Um, and yeah, I think I decided no. I think probably besides obviously like Adam Sandler, he is the man in this movie. This is like, but yeah, if it pick anyone else, I thought that Julia Fox did a really terrific job in the movie too. I like the conflict that she has in those scenes with Adam Sandler, and they're yelling at each other, and their emotions are flying, and just they have such a complex and weird relationship. So I think she did a really great job.
Yeah. I gotta say, I guess then I'll make a trifecta of these things with my own. I guess, yeah, like I said, I knocked down that character of Damani a lot. So yeah, like Keith Stanfield, I think just comes in and blows it away in terms of just being in a movie of everybody's not a great person. To me, he stands out. Like he goes above and beyond about being just he's just rubs me the wrong way. Just the way that he is despicable compared to everybody else's despicableness. He does a really good job, and I don't really, not that I'm some big diehard Lakeith Stanfield fan where I'm watching all this stuff, but I can't even think of the roles that I know him from, but I know that there's several. Anyway, that being said,
Get Out.
thank you. Yeah. He's just
Yeah.
that he can go from one role to another is just like, you'd expect that in people, but for this, that like I'm never gonna look at him in another role and be like, that son of a gun, he was in Uncut Gems, and I did not like him as a person in that movie. Like, that's not gonna happen. I think with time, that guy, yeah, he could become one of those chameleon actors where you just, you can't really keep a move on them because they're always hopping around. Um, yeah. I think another cool bit of a relationship, or not a relationship, but a cool bit of a scene in all of this. Howard, at one point, they're leaving, what is it? What is it? The Sabbath? Is that what they're doing as a family?
Passover, right?
Passover. They're doing Passover. Thank you.
Yeah.
On the way back, they stop at the apartment. Sandler goes in there, the Sandman, to check out, Julia has left the apartment, and she has, and the music's playing right when he gets there, and he reads the note, turns off the music, and then it's like dead quiet in there, and it's all empty. It's like, man, this is like, it's a really cool, easy peasy artistic way of just showing, like, without Julia, like, his life's kind of quiet and sucks. Like, she matters in his life. Like, she
Yeah,
brought something to it. And
I
it's
like
nice.
that.
Yeah.
Did you notice that in the car ride there, they were listening to Billy Joel's The Stranger?
We picked up on that, as a matter of fact.
And I think that goes so well in that scene. I don't know what it is about that. It just is. I love it.
Yeah.
Such a fun thing to include and somewhat topical with the movie's theme. But yeah,
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm glad you picked up on it. There's a lot of good music in this movie, particularly for me, The Stranger. Giant fan of The Stranger. Relationships across movies here. Are there any two people, that just as you see them together, whether they're friends or foes, if you will? Any two people, or even, if there's a group of people where they just butt heads in a particular way, or work well together? Huh?
K can I pick KG and Adam Sandler? Because
Yeah.
I think I think there's two main conversations they have. There's the first one where KG he shows them the video of the Opal getting mined, and KG first gets lost in it. And
Yeah.
then you have towards the end when he comes back in, he's like, "All right, I sold it to you. The deal's done. How much did you pay for this?" I don't know. There is something really fucking cool about watching a Minnesota sports icon act, which he is doing, opposite Adam Sandler in like a prestigious kind of A24 movie. It's a feeling I've never had. like it's or probably will never have again. So it's just I'm proud of Kevin Garnett for actually like not making this movie worse. It's like he's doing his job well. So,
Yeah.
and I'm sure working with a guy like Adam Sandler helps that. So,
I'm sure Kevin Garnett, the person, is probably a very well-rounded individual. I don't really know him, but I've never really heard a bad bit of news about that guy. I apologize. It turns out he's not a cool guy, but I've heard very cool things about this Mr. Kevin Garnett. And for him in this movie to be such a stand-up guy, where he, I know a lot of egos flare up when it comes to athletes, just because you got to have this real step on the neck mentality, like they say in this movie. You can't really get by in professional sports by being some easygoing fella. You kind of got to be a hard fella sometimes. Uh, this,
especially in basketball, and to play at like
yeah,
as high of a level as he did. So,
yeah.
yeah.
And so for him to have this moment where he's like kind of is a little bit vulnerable, he's not like crying or anything, but like he's vulnerable with Adam Sandler, where he's laying it out there like, why didn't you want to talk to me at all? I wanted this gem, and like now, we did the deal, it's done. Tell me what it is, and like to just be vulnerable to the point where he's not that he's even having an equal in a movie. So many times egos come up with people. You think about Mr. Vin Diesel and The Rock, where they can't do that. They refuse to do it. First time coming into a big shot movie like this, where he's actually like, yeah, just I'll do your movie and just tell me what to say. I'll do it. Like it's
Yeah, and it couldn't have been like a movie set, like an Avengers set or something like that. Like it was probably hard to film at times, cramped jewelry shop, like lots of noise, quick dialogue. He's asked to do some work here, and he does it with no
yeah.
ego, it seems. Yeah.
I think, yeah, even more, if I might add on to that vulnerability part for him, is that Adam Sandler, the same man's pressuring him to go and do this game, and like, let's bet on it, to where Kevin Garnett's like not really comfortable with that, where he said
Right.
like, like I'm not really sure I can do that. And it's like, wow, what a great thing to have your person actually admit to like,
This is
I
something that could come up. Yeah.
yeah, I bet if you put A-Rod in a movie, he'd not be saying that stuff.
Right. Probably
Yeah,
won't be a scene of him injecting his veins with illegal drugs. Yeah.
yeah,
Talking to you, A-Rod. Come at me.
yeah. I don't much care for those New York Yankees.
What if he was about to invest in our podcast and now I've just ruined it?
You may have just ruined it.
He was like,
Damn it.
I'm only buying up the Timberwolves if I get podcast
Yeah.
and motion picture, and it was a bundle
I'm
deal.
gonna listen to one more episode, my buddy KG's movie Uncut Gems, and if they knock it out of the park, a lot of money coming their way.
I mean, either way, one way or the other, either way, I'm still gonna shoot up with performance enhancing drugs, but
A-Rod, sorry, we gotta speak the truth.
gotta
Sorry.
stand for something, A-Rod, and
Yeah.
apparently it's against you.
Yep.
And it always will be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cole, you got a buddy cop or sorry, buddy enemy, enemy kind of relationship in this movie that stands out. Friend to lovers arc, maybe?
I don't know. I guess like a lot of these characters are just so against each other throughout the movie that in the end I don't think Howard really has anyone by his side. So obviously. I guess I don't know how to answer the question. I think Noah did a good job with Kevin Garnett and Adam Sandler. But doesn't seem like I guess yeah, like if you're talking antagonists, I think obviously like the one that stands out to me, I guess, on this viewing was who I sympathized with was Dina and his ex-wife. When I was watching it, I was like, yeah, she just sees through all of his shit, like every single thing, every moment. I just love when they're in the kitchen and she doesn't even say a single word to him because she's probably heard this all before because he's just an asshole. So I don't know. I was
Yeah.
really focused on a lot of those like smaller relationships this time around, and yeah, it stood out to me. I liked how they were like they just portrayed her as just like someone who's just fed up with this shit, and it's just like, yeah, it's over. Like you can't win me. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. For myself, I mean, looking at it, yeah, I don't think there's a lot of relationships where people get along in this movie where you can look at like how do they work well together? Like even him and his one friend in the end, Julia Fox, like they don't really work together well. They just work together and it works out. Like it's not she really just does his bidding essentially, like goes along with it. So it's not really a great relationship between the two of them. Um, I really think I don't know, it's just the relationship between like Howard and Arno, not necessarily from Arno's perspective, but for Howard to have this person in his life, his brother-in-law, where like it's hard to say really anything in terms of how Howard sees relationships because he's clearly just uses everybody that he can as much as possible until they're not worth anything to him. But this thing between him and Arno is just such a like a I don't know if the relationship's even the part that I think is so interesting. It's really that it's just something the viewer can use as really a sounding board of like, okay, clearly brother-in-law, Howard sees this relationship as like, you're supposed to do anything for me. We're practically brothers, where Arno's like, you're like a stranger and you took all my money.
That
Like
is a super interesting dynamic that I can't really think of another example of where it's done this well. And he is like extra outraged all the time. Like, Arnold, what the fuck is going on here? You know, like he's in disbelief this is happening.
it's gonna wrap his closest friend in the world, brother-in-law
Yeah,
Arno of a
yeah.
failed marriage. Yeah. No, yeah. I forgot what I was gonna say, man. What was I gonna say? Gosh darn it. In terms of these two different things, I think part of the what adds to it is this little mystery in terms of like, what does this relationship before now look like? Like, we don't really even get the two of them talking through what's going on. It's really just Arno coming full speed with the mobsters and Howard trying to talk Arno into these different scenarios and whatnot that just Arno doesn't want to hear. Um, so I think it's it's one of those things where it's left up to the imagination of the viewer here, left out there for us to kind of put the pieces together, which I love in movies. I love when you get to do the work
Yeah.
yourself.
Like what how long had Arno been putting up with this shit before it got to this point is a
Yeah.
good thought.
I like to think that even still, like part of the reason the marriage has fallen apart is like maybe him and Dina were going so well, but Dina started to get weirded out because Howard kept trying to take advantage of Arno for no particular reason, you know. Just like
Yeah,
imagining like Howard
yeah,
has no concept of how a family works. Um, yeah. No, it's a curious thing too that that character of Howard, there's so much going on for him, and yet I feel like we're given so little about where he comes from. Like I think all we really get to know is that his parents aren't around. His dad died young, I think, of the colon cancer, and so you don't really get to know about his upbringing so much. You know, like when did the betting start? Like when did this
yeah,
become his focus? So I would love to know more and have a character dive on it, but like I don't think it's there other than what's happening in this movie.
right.
And I don't think it's a very good depiction of who he is because clearly, like, you know, he's a winner. It's
Yeah,
just from what we see, we're seeing him while he's consistently losing.
right.
Yeah, no, it's quite a deal. Is there anything else tickling anybody's fancy here? Anybody else got any gems they're looking to cut during this podcast recording?
I did want to mention that what was it, 6 years ago now when Man Cinema 8 gave out a bunch of free posters. Free to me, not free to everyone, I will say. Uh I took, how many did I take? 7 that hung up in my wall at our house in Duluth for 4 years, and Uncut Gems is one of those posters. So every night for 4 years I fell asleep looking at this poster. It is one of my favorite movies of the 2010s, one of my favorite movies of the last 6 years. I've come back to it many times, and I think it's just because it scratches the itch. If I want like 2 hours to go by like that, this movie does that to me. I'm just constantly engaged in this movie, even though it is making me very anxious, and I don't always want that experience. It's such an engaging movie, and it's, I guess, my favorite Adam Sandler performance, which is funny to say, but it just is. I love that character, and I get a lot out of this one, so I was excited to do it this week.
Yeah. No, I'm a big fan of comedians in a serious role. I think last night we did a little recording of our bracket battle episode we'll have put out here at some point in the not so distant future. One of the potentials are comedians in a serious role. Like there's a lot of people who go out and do it. And I mean Adam Sandler, even in some of Adam Sandler's movies, like he'll take on some like I
Yeah,
don't know, emotional moments like 51st Dates. You're like,
Yeah,
you know, that's not always a smiley movie. Like there's some moments that are kind
yeah,
of saddening, of course, but for him to come out and do this, like that's like Tommy Lee Jones having done a comedy, like crazy of like stark difference. So yeah, I'm right with you. This has got to be the best, or at least my favorite role for him, just in terms of what it is. I mean, either this or Happy Gilmore, but
right.
again, that's two very different things. It's water and fire right there.
I don't know. I mean, The Waterboy is a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
So, like,
Bobby Boucher.
are you
Uh,
sure that like that's not his best performance?
it was, I mean, Wedding Singer, I think of him singing that, but it all was bullshit, is one of my favorite moments of
It's
his, that's for sure.
it's really funny that he's capable of doing that and then uncut gems. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just I think it comes down to the director and like he probably personally was really invested in the movie and he really cared about the story and the character. So
Yeah.
like he is a good actor. He's a
Yeah.
really good actor. He just makes a lot of terrible movies.
Yeah.
He comes out with like a this and then like yeah, that Paul Thomas Anderson movie just to prove to everyone that no, I'm not a bad actor.
Yep.
You know, I'm actually really talented.
He did a movie like 4 years ago where he just played a basketball coach. It was called Hustle. It
Hmm.
wasn't very good, but he was like pretty good in it, and it was another dramatic role. So maybe there's a couple more in his future still. I would want to see it again.
I
I'd want to see him
remember
get an Oscar now.
I do remember that. Yeah, I was just going to point that out. I remember he was like in like the marketing for the movie or whatever, he was like, if I don't get an Oscar nom, I'm gonna make like 30 grown-up
Yeah.
movies or something like that,
Yep.
is what he said. It was really funny.
Yep.
I think he'd said, "I will never make another good movie."
Yeah.
I will never try again, I think is what he
Yeah, that's
said.
what. Yeah,
Yeah. Nah, he's in a lot of movies that are just, of course, not always the best stuff, but he's got a lot of good movies to his name. Another serious one, if I remember right, at least I think it was a serious one, is you guys remember the movie The Cobbler with, I think, Steve Buscemi?
Definitely never saw it. I do
never
remember
saw it.
it. It's
Yeah,
one of the Netflix originals, right?
I don't know about that. I know it was on Netflix, touted there, but like I don't, I don't know if that was really a Netflix one. It could be, but anyway, I remember having watched it a long time ago. It was fine. It just wasn't really like I'll never watch it again. And I don't often say that assuredly about a movie. It just was pretty boring.
I
But
say it all the time.
you do say it quite a lot. So for you to have watched Uncut Gems 5 times is actually very
Yeah.
I think very important for everybody to know. Just good. Another good role, I think, for Adam Sandler. I think for me, a defining one. I really think the Lenny Fade is a big one, but him as Paul Carew, I think is the name in The Longest Yard. That was a
Oh
movie.
yeah.
I don't know how many times I watched that growing up. I guess for me, that very well could also be. That's got some serious moments in it and a
Yeah.
lot of good comedy. Um, and then of course your man Engens here, while I'm just touting off a bunch of different Adam Sandler roles, is your movie Click, if you remember Click.
I
Not
remember
a
Clay.
not a really a great movie. There's some dumb comedy in it, but there's some very serious moments in it as well. It's just I don't think I myself have it in me to ever watch that movie again because I know some of the serious stuff, and I don't really get into movies where I'm like can like feel for stuff in it. Like it's always just a movie to me, but like nah, that's got some themes in it that I think I'm gonna struggle to pull up.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Do you remember bedtime stories?
I do with the newly rapist, well, probably old rapist, but recently charged rapist Russell Brand. He's in
Yeah.
it. They put their kids next to this guy. They just did. What am
I
I
think
not
he
supposed to
is.
call a spade a
Oh,
spade?
no, you're right. You're right. I
I,
was just gonna say I saw that movie in theaters and remember it, but yeah, I did not think past that.
yeah, Russell Brand is in it. That movie was on a
Yeah.
lot. We had the Mediacom Stars channel growing up, so we had
Yes,
like
that's what. Yeah,
it was on there
exactly.
like every day, and yeah, Russell Brand was yeah, I'm sure trouble then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, I brought up Russell Brand. I was
that's
hoping we'd
okay.
never talk
I
about
was gonna
him.
say, just as long as either this is the last time or at some point we do an episode dedicated to forgetting Sarah Marshall and then move on
Right.
from them altogether.
Right.
Yeah. Eesh. Nasty fella. All right, well, I suppose that about does it. We can probably
Yeah.
wrap it up.
that's it. That's it.
Yeah, that's for yeah, it's that time of the
Real
night.
piece of shit. So
We've covered Pete Rose, we've covered Russell Brand, and we've covered A-Rod. So the big three,
yep.
Hey, I even got to drop Will Smith's name earlier. So
Yep.
bada bing, bada boom. All right, well, everybody, thank you for listening. If you haven't seen Uncut Gems yet, I'm not really sure what to tell you. But next week we don't have one picked out yet, so just kind of wait along with us and just figure it's going to be a good one. I don't really know if anybody has a preference. We'll get there when we get there. Check out our other stuff. We're going to have this thing coming out called Bracket Battle. It's going to be long and arduous, but also argumentative as well. It's pretty good. It's pretty fun, but yeah. Anyway, we got that going. We got some other stuff. Hop on board. Cool stuff in the works. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye. Make sure if you got any things you want to say to us, drop it in the comments. So, yeah. Wonderful.
That was a whole episode of the Whole Other Podcast. It's over now. The podcast is done.